Public awareness campaign was launched today here in Western Mass that targets teen mental health.
Western Mass News reporter Addie Patterson has more on what resources are available for teenagers in our area, especially during the summer months.
Adolescent mental health does not take a summer vacation.
On Tuesday, MiraVista Behavioral Health Center, in partnership with the Public Health Institute of Western Massachusetts, launched a public awareness campaign aimed at bringing attention to teenage mental health. Experts say while summer is typically a happy time for many teens, that's not the case for everyone.
Summer offers an extensive opportunity for young people, certainly to just relax and to rejuvenate. For some young people, that lack of connectivity, that lack of socialness, can exacerbate existing mental health conditions and can often add to those feelings of loneliness.
One of the most important ways adults can help teenagers is by having open conversations surrounding their mental well-being.
There's still stigma, and that remains around talking about mental health, and it's really important to talk about it. And so encouraging parents and young people to be engaged and connected. We know that social isolation is a risk for poor mental health, and so encouraging them to be involved in volunteering, to engage in activities in their communities with peers and with adults.
Western Mass News caught up with Springfield City Councilor LeVar Click-Bruce. He tells us the city offers several summer programs and opportunities for local teens to stay active, including at the YMCA on Main Street.
As a community center kid, the Y provides a plethora of opportunities, not only for our teens, but the family. The family can come work out, the family can come read a book, the family has childcare, we have swim lessons. It's imperative that our parents really try to find something that fits their child.
To learn more about summer programs being offered in our area, head on over to our website, westernmassnews.com, for details. For now, reporting in Springfield, Addie Patterson for Western Mass News.